Okay, I think we are live. Welcome to the stream. Only a minute late. um, a minute late to the rescheduled stream time. Oh, I've been out. I've had a really bad back lately. I injured myself. So what I try and do in the mornings as soon as possible is go and do some form of exercise to try and become less tense and less in pain. That usually helps. So I've been out working in the garden today, and it's incredibly hot in the UK. Feel a lot better having moved my body around, so I'm ready to do a stream. We're going to do an hour stream today because the to-do list is actually quite light today, and also I kind of want to give myself like a bit of a gentle stream today to be kind to myself. Thank you to obviously Penpot app for helping me stay safe in the sun. This is a hat from Penpot Fest from last year. Sadly, they had to cancel the festival this year for some very good reasons. It's like that sometimes. But the festival last year was fantastic, and it was incredibly warm in Barcelona where the festival was happening. And this hat saved me on many occasions from getting absolutely ruined by the sun in Spain. I've also got a nice little GitLab pride pin on here as well. And I've never seen the pins like this before. And I can't actually remember where I picked this up, what event I picked this up from GitLab. It's possible that it was FOSDEM this year. Because I don't think I've had this pin for very long, but it's very cute. It's the GitLab fox. It's the GitLab fox, with a rainbow. I hope it's a fox, but it's got a magnetic back. It's a very strong magnet. Because I lose backs to pins all the time, so I feel like a really strong magnet is probably a better pin situation than continuously losing like the back clips. Anyway, so let's de-hat ourselves and start some stream activities today on this day, Tuesday. So we're gonna do. I'll swap it from the big cam to the shared screen cam in just a moment after I've got what I need up on the screen. But we are going to do a couple of things. Did I ruin? Oh, there we go. I just did something funky with my Streamlabs. We are gonna do our usual checking over some open source design stuff. We're gonna see if there's anything that needs merging, any issues that need closing, or otherwise any work that needs doing there. Sorry, I'm just setting up my screens, which I should have done before the stream, but hey, sometimes we just don't have the time in the day to do all the things we want. So yeah, we're going to do our usual looking over the open source design repository. We might wrap up a conversation from last stream, which is about I think I was doing some prep for a workshop for CosCup. We might like take a look at the finished version of that. Well, finished in the sense that there's still like one last task to do on that workshop board. Actually, let's grab that and put that up on the screen just in case we want to work on it. Today, let's get our workspace all ready. Or we can check over and see if any other work. Oh no, it's not been done. But yeah, we can finish that off, and I can kind of take y'all through what we hope. Well, not what we hope to do, what we intend to do at the workshop in COSCUP. Oh, and then I can take a look at some of the edits and changes to various different things in that as well. And then we're gonna do. I think we're gonna spend the majority of the stream, the hour-long stream, working on a new piece of work that I think is actually something that I've wanted to do for a really, really long time. But I had a question from one of the open source design community members. I don't know whether they want to be named particularly, but asking about where would designers go if they wanted to learn how to contribute to open source, other than the other than the open source software projects that they intend to contribute to. But often designers don't have a project that they it differs, right? Some designers have a project that they've been following for a while or that have found out about and they want to contribute to that project. But often a lot of designers are like, oh, open source is something that I can contribute to. I have interest and or skills in design related things, but what project can I contribute to? Where do I start? So there has been some stuff that I've done in the past about that, and actually that's another good thing that we'll just grab really quickly to help us with that, because I did a workshop for designers, specifically for designers about beginning to contribute to open source. So that actually could possibly help with this. But yeah, the piece of work that I'm interested in doing is what would an open source software design curriculum, if we want to call it a curriculum, or educational program or guide or tutorial, or it doesn't really matter what we end up calling it, but what would that look like essentially? And let me just make sure that my headphones are connected as well. Today, it's so hot today that wearing headphones is really difficult. I don't know if any other people that have to or often wear headphones while they do their daily things find it excruciating as well in hot weather, but I find it difficult to wear headphones while it's incredibly hot. So, right, let's switch to screen sharing mode. First, let's make sure we just do that. I know we don't always hide our bookmarks, but hey, when we can, we do. But let's start off with some checking over any pull requests or anything, any new activity in the open source design repository. Doesn't look like there's any new pull requests in the website, which is pretty normal, pretty ordinary. And I don't think we've had any new activity for a good long time, actually. I think the last time was recently updated last week. I think this possibly was the rest of the community adding in context about this after I added them. Yeah, so yeah, this is the last sort of level of activity for this task. This task is such a weirdly complicated task in and of itself, because open source design has two repositories that we've got one repository that powers the GitHub Pages website, and that has so each page in the top navigation, except for jobs, has the same like links structure because it uses a global header nav, whereas the jobs has a different repository and therefore is like powered by a different like header nav. So as you can kind of see, this person raised a issue saying, oh well, this isn't the same as this, that should be fixed. And there was an intention, I believe, like probably more than a year ago, to merge both repositories, to merge like the website repository and the jobs repository. And I think it's a non-trivial as far as like a actual task goes to try and merge those two repositories, because probably to do with some things that might conflict, possibly to do with some things that might break the jobs page function, which we don't want to break. We try to avoid having downtime on the jobs board as much as possible. The only time where we had the jobs board down for a number of months was when we had some problems with Heroku no longer provided a free tier, like unpaid tier for open source software projects, and then so we stopped being able to use Heroku, and it took us a while to try and figure out how to fix that without using Heroku, and then we just ended up, I believe, still using Heroku, but deciding to pay for Heroku out of our funds. Anyway, so yeah, non-trivial to merge the two repositories. So the sort of stopgap solution to this is to basically just like copy and paste the header nav to the jobs repository from the kind of main one, or at the very least, you know, just kind of double check and make sure that all the things that need to be there can be there, and it doesn't break other things within the jobs page section. Did this get merged? Once merged, this issue should close. Yeah. So we merged it, right? We merged it. Let's just double check that we merged. It was merged. Requests closed. Patch 1, update readme, merged last week. Closed 2 weeks ago, merged 2 weeks ago. So it was merged last week with the removal of the DS thing, the DS store file. So to contribute to the website, we should probably, that should probably be fixed from the web. Yeah, we should probably add an actual link into the website there. But let's double check. Contribute to the website. Yeah, we need to link the website there. So I think install Jekyll using other Ruby gems was the tricky thing, right? Here we go. So this is what we needed. Prerequisites. Jekyll requires Ruby version 2.50. Installing Ruby, and then yeah. So that really the unclear instructions that this person announced or asked to be fixed was around the Ruby gems and Jekyll. So this can be closed because the updates to the README solved that problem. But the one thing that I've sort of noticed is, yeah, okay, so that link works. So the one thing that I've noticed is the website should probably just add this link in again where we reference the website. We may as well, because people might not know. I mean, we have said like where the website is in like the previous section, but you never know, right? So people might, between that section paragraph and the other section paragraph, people may have forgotten or don't know. It's always good to add in extra context. Added the OSD website link to the text the website. We'll just copy and we'll propose the changes and we'll create a new branch. Create. And then we'll do our usual asking for friendly folks. Actually, do you know what? We're gonna ask Jan Dietrich to be the second reviewer here, because I think I've pinged Saptak too much lately. Saptak is great at reviewing things, but I want to make sure that I'm not always pinging the same people to review pull requests, at least very simple pull requests. Mastodon account isn't listed on the website. Open Collective or the forum. Ooh, interesting. I might try and do the bits today about adding the Mastodon link to the Open Collective and the forum. So we know we need to go to the forum to do our regular, like, is everything, what's up? How just checking, like, our regular checks are the GitHub, the 2 GitHub repositories, the forum, and we can also go to the Open Collective. I might not still be logged in though. I might need to come off of oh no, I am still logged in. Fantastic. But we need to add the Mastodon into here. Do we have our other socials in here? I didn't see other socials. Here, right. Well, it's entirely dependent on whether or not Open Collective in your editing profile settings allow you to add Mastodon. So we'll see if we can do that. But let's open up the jobs repository and see if there's anything that we need to merge or do there. We've got a pull request. Okay, so this one's still, they still haven't replied, I believe. Where did I message them? I emailed them last week. Oh, I kind of want to give them still another bit of time. Just still no reply from the maintainer. Going to wait one more week before closing. Cool. Okay, so there we go. We can close that repository and let's double check things on the forum. So we had a couple new job postings recently. Let's get the website up and see if those are. I should probably also update the spreadsheet for the running spreadsheet for the jobs, but let's have a little look. Oh, I remember this one. I remember merging this last week, the Image Pro Figma plugin. Okay, so let's do the usual thing that we do and try and be a good maintainer. And what we like to do is make sure that people on the forum know that they need to. I've mailed you about the same. Perfect. Just ensuring your email. Perfect. Yeah. Hope you're doing well. Sometimes we get these folks these folks replying to jobs, and it's very I'm never quite sure, like, actually whether they've read the job and that the job is gratis, like it's not paid. It always kind of seems worded in a way that is like business procurement. But we'll see. It's reasonably harmless. So that one's good. People know and have emailed. Hey Ross. Yes, Ross Allen. Tab Wrangler. Portfolio, let me know how you would like to proceed. Hope you'd... Oh my good grief. Yeah, I think the tricky thing is like they seem to copy and paste the same response. Ooh. Right, okay. I think we're gonna have to be a bit of a, what's the word? Like a bit of a strict maintainer here. And we're going to have to probably send this person a message, which we will do, probably off stream, and we'll construct the message to the effect of, hey there, this is one of the open source design core maintainers, Errol. I wanted to bring to your attention, good grief, this is a real like manager's style email, and this is the one part of maintaining that I dislike, or one of the parts of maintaining open source software that I dislike, is kind of like when you have to, for lack of like a better word of describing it, like enforce structure, because like it is not necessarily, it doesn't go against our code of conduct to copy and paste a message content to multiple requests for like contributions of design. That doesn't go like strictly against our code of conduct, but it's not behavior that we would like to encourage. So I'm gonna ask the rest of the open source design core team like whether this feels like an appropriate message to send to this person. But essentially, I want to bring to your attention that when you reply to open source design jobs on forum posts, it's clear that you are copy pasting the same details and not mentioning any specifics about that particular job post, e.g. the name of the person who raised the job request, the open source software project name, etc. We'd like to ask that from now on you do not copy paste messages and add in at least a specific detail from the jobs post. They could write a script to do that, right? So, you know, it's not that they can't automate it if they really want to. We're here to cultivate a, what's the word, like a inclusive and friendly community, which isn't just about filling job posts with designers, but provoking useful conversations and community. We'll offer three I don't want to use the word strikes, but like we'll offer 3 chances to change this behavior before we go ahead and ban accounts that are acting in this copy paste manner. thanks from the OSD core team. Cool. Okay, there we go. Oh yeah, one of the trickiest parts of maintaining open source software is when you have to be a hard ass, I suppose, is the the best way of describing it, I suppose. Anyway, cool. Let's have a look at this person's design work. Felix Ayula. Love it when people like put in an A portfolio link. Fantastic. Oh, I haven't been on Behance for like a hot second. So they've changed loads of things about Behance as like a service. And this is really cool that they've got like this like available for hire. That's very cool. Like in fact that's like fantastic, given that Behance is supposed to be like one of those places where designers can showcase their work and hopefully get hired off the back of it. Same with Dribbble, I suppose, but I don't know if new websites have come up to help with that. This festival branding is really cool. I don't know. I imagine that Felix will never watch this this stream, but this is really, really cool branding. I mean, one of the tricky things about doing like creative branding is making it still legible, but also being incredibly like creative. So you can just about read Startup Festival. But I love the pixelation style. And I love all these different colors. I love like this nod to like Miro Figma like UI, but as part of the branding. And like here where they've put the word like speakers over the top of like the speaker names. Yeah, festival. Oh, this person made this font for this festival. Love it. Especially the A that looks like a little Space Invader, right? Love that. This is so cute. Felix, you're really good. You're a really, really good designer. Look at this cute bag. My friend, your branding work. I specifically love the pixel work. It's really cool. Really, really cool. These drawings, these pixel drawings are super cool. I don't know whether you hand kind of drew them or whether they are like generated in some way. I kind of hope that you hand drew them to some extent, but hey, generating pixel art is not necessarily a bad thing all the time. I'm gonna do, oh no, I'm not signed in. I'll leave it open and off stream I'll do a comment on this because it's really cool. It's really cool work. But let's go back to the maintaining aspect of the stream. So I opened up a thread about FOSDEM 2025 and we had a couple of people reply, but it's really nice. We had a couple of people actually answer the question, so I didn't necessarily have to answer the question myself. Ooh. Hey, Aslan. And thanks, Sven. Sven's been like a superstar lately with like commenting on the forum for answering the questions re-FOSDEM. Bouquet. I hope everybody understands that when I put the bouquet emoji, it means like a thank you, like I'm giving you a bunch of flowers. An emoji of flowers is like a thank you. I hope that translates well culturally. I'll make a note here, hoping for some civic tech related talks. We typically have at least 1 to 2 submissions that are civic tech related or like adjacent, but we can certainly reach out to more folks to submit talks. The tricky thing always being as as a curator, curators of the talks at FOSDEM. We kind of have to pick from talks where people can self-fund their travel to speak, or company sponsors. Civic Tech is notoriously underfunded and difficult, in my experience, to get funding for travel to speak at OSS conferences, but certainly possible. There's a couple of Nextclouders. I don't know if people that work at Nextcloud like to be called Nextclouders in the OSD community, so perhaps they'll be ready to speak about that work in 2025. Cool. Okay, so we've done our forum tasks. No, we haven't. We wanted to add the Mastodon to the forum. So, where on the forum? I suppose in the meta, right? Is where we have like pinned. Oh no, we've only got the call pinned. Oh, Django opened a call thing. Probably should have been maybe in Design Lounge instead. Might have had some more. Ooh, no way. FOSS Backstage 6 days ago, talking. Ooh. Or giving away any internal conversations. I know that my org are interested in how we can make sure design has a established place again. But spelled again wrong there again, but they'll update when we have more public, like confirmed news. Cool. Right, so what was I even looking for? I was looking for where we've put our socials. Where have we put our socials? Let's just do a search, shall we, instead of looking around social. Ah, there we go. January the 12th. got some people speaking in introductions. So I guess we don't have like a pinned section where we talk about our socials. Wait, hang on, let's just go back on the website. The forum goes straight to the forum, yeah. If I ooh. That's cool. I'm just gonna actually send that to somebody that I think will find that really useful. Generally. Cool. Don't have much to comment on. Sperm will automatically generate. There was somebody posted a forum post there. Sven posted. Hey Diaz, Sven posted a article about Firefox auto-generating alt text for images or diagrams or any kind of content that would benefit from alt text via like AI. So, which is cool. It's interesting, right? And I agree with what Jan said is like people might feel the need to not write alt text if an AI is generating it for them. And I suppose like I would add upon that, like I always appreciate, like I sometimes see when people write alt text for images, or alt text in some space where alt text is beneficial for people regardless of impairment or disability. But I always appreciate when alt text includes like cultural or inferred meaning as well as like a description of the image. Hey Tomazu, it's nice to see you here. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people do that with their alt text. I think that often alt text is like describe the image like in as much or as little detail as you're able to describe the image in. And like sometimes it's like useful in the alt text to like explain the meaning. So for example, I'm writing a blog post at the moment that is going to hopefully go up on my company website pretty soon. And the blog post is largely about a project that we did with lots of open source software developers around usability, user testing, and user research, and how to kind of do just enough, or learn like the very minimal basics of that kind of process so that it is less of a perceived intense burden to do like user research, user testing for open source software. And it also can be something that people that are already contributing to the open source software can also perform, like, so it doesn't have to be a specialist like usability person that does user research. But anyway, it's a blog post about that project that was is now a couple of years old. But part of that project, we did some coaching, and coaching is always a difficult kind of practice, or I find it a difficult practice, because it's often about trying to find out what problem somebody in an open source software project really wants to kind of tackle, but also what is the most appropriate way right now for them to tackle it. But the blog post uses an image of people doing rock climbing, like just like bouldering. Because, you know, I mean, if anybody here has ever kind of written a blog post or like done a presentation, I'm sure that the images get used because of the meaning that they can present, as opposed to like a literal image of like a coaching session or something like that. And so, like, in the alt text of that image, it would be this many people doing rock climbing, and then it also could have like the inferred meaning. My doorbell has just gone. I'm just going to go on Be Right Back. Okay. Oh, I always get knocks at the door whenever I'm in the middle of something. But anyway, yeah, so that was that about alt text. Okie dokie. Okay, Nimisha has welcomed Aaron. Monthly call. What's currently top of mind for you? So hi there, Aaron. Welcome. Ooh. You can typically find the most recent topics in the like hashtag design lounge. Will it? Oh yeah, the design lounge area. Common topics are accessibility, OSD or open source design at conferences and events regarding open source and how to submit to those, or creating talk/workshop content for them. But really, everyone has different focuses for their work. So it can be a real melting pot of conversations at the monthly call or here on the forum. If you want to raise a topic at the monthly call, or on this forum, you're very welcome to start a conversation. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So I think we've done that work, and we've only got really 15 minutes left, and I've got a couple of things that I need to do off stream. So a couple of things I'm going to do off stream is to do with this issue. I think what I'll do is I'll start a new meta topic, which is open source designs, social media links for pin. Oh no, I'll pin it. So wanted this post is an editable post where we'll keep a up-to-date pinned post of OSD's most recent social media accounts. I think we've only got Twitter/X, and we've got Mastodon, and we've got, I don't think we've got a Blue Sky, but we'll yeah, I'll take a look. Yeah, we've got a Mastodon, Twitter/X, a GitHub, and then an open cockpit. GitHub should probably go at the top, to be fair. I don't know whether I'd categorize GitHub as like a social media, but hey, it's a place where you can find us. Okie dokie. Right, we're gonna do like a couple of minutes of this because I really wanted to do something on this. So we're not gonna get to, or maybe we'll leave it for next stream. We're not gonna get to covering the updates to the COSCUP workshop. Or maybe we'll be able to do the COSCUP workshop really quickly, and then next stream we'll really focus on like a curriculum that follows on from the end of this stream. But I guess it is connected in the sense that the COSCUP workshop is designers design. It's called Designers in Tech Open Source Design Workshop. So the ultimate goal of this workshop is to, at the end of the basically full day of open source workshop, is to have designers, or it's not necessarily only for designers, this workshop. It could be for anybody that wants to practice design skills. So essentially, as long as you're willing and prepared to do some activities which are design related or design activities, then everyone is welcome. But the idea is to contribute a design contribution to specific issues in the time of the workshop. So we have our sort of regular. So yeah, our workshop objectives are to understand the open source software project's current issues and understand how design can help them, to discuss and form teams around design contributions and find an appropriate design contribution type, and then at the end of your workshop to contribute publicly to the open source software issue. And any sort of like open source software developers or coders might be like, kind of like, huh? Why do you need a whole workshop to just like contribute to an issue? But the thing is, like, if a designer isn't already familiar through like sheer kind of stubbornness, have familiarized themselves with how to contribute to open source software, a lot of people either, or even if you know how to contribute to open source software, there's still a lot of nervousness around like actually making that first contribution to an open source software, actually making that first comment on an issue, actually kind of like engaging with the project, and kind of essentially asserting yourself as like I've got value to give this project. Because ultimately designers still don't necessarily have like the idea that they are valued within an open source software. Mostly because they just don't see themselves there, and they're often not asked for help. So after like the icebreaker work, we're going to talk about roles in open source software. So actually, like probably one of the first things that we can add onto an open source software design curriculum or education is what are common roles. Like let's say job roles, functions, or like what's another job roles, functions, or like identities in open source software. And I'm not saying that this isn't already like documented somewhere. I'm sure that there's tons of, I did like a quick Google, which is like, are there courses on how to like contribute to open source software? And I found like a Coursera course. Obviously we've got Outreachy, and there's like tons of like lists. There's tons of like articles on how to contribute to open source, but I expect they're all going to be from a perspective of contributing code or documentation, some kind of like developer-y experience, as opposed to coming from a perspective of design experience. So I expect that there is like chapters of books, pieces of course content which already talk about the common like job roles and functions and identities in open source software. But I suppose like the specific part is how would that interact and relate to a design. Okay, we got our first part of our design curriculum. Whether it's actually the curriculum starts with that or not is, we'll see. But hey, so I mean, this is good because I guess this workshop structure is helping with the curriculum structure. So we have roles in open source software, which is part of the workshop. So as part of this workshop, we're acknowledging that even when you're thinking of a very quick contribution to open source software, there's like different roles that you need to play. Like there's somebody that is going to do the writing or the management of like how to respond to like product or open source software related needs or considerations. There's somebody that maybe wants to do the design thinking aspect of things, which is like really thinking about like what is the purpose of the open source software from a user perspective. You might have somebody that wants to really practice their sketching or UI like building skills, if that's part of the contribution that they want to do. And then you've got kind of like a communicator, like so somebody that's like making sure that each of these roles are talking to each other well. So there are obviously loads of other roles in open source software, but for this workshop, I think that those are like the key roles that people would want to inhabit or pick. Groups are probably going to be more like 5 or 6 people, depending on how many people we get coming to this workshop. So there's going to be more than one of each of these roles or additional roles if people want to. Like, so if we get coders coming along to this workshop, as long as they're, participating in some of the design aspects of things, they're more than welcome to write some code. Like, I would never stop anybody from writing code in a design workshop, but also like kind of maybe come at the design contribution from come at the code contribution from a design perspective, maybe, which might be confusing to some people that don't know necessarily what a design perspective is, but hopefully the workshop would frame that for them. But the next part of the workshop is like user insights and research from the kinds of users of the open source software that we have picked. So we've kind of got the contextual background, how to build up contextual background of the open source software users, and broadly what kinds of users are there in open source software projects. So this is going to be like a huge module because this is a really complicated topic. But it's really important for designers to know, like, how do I understand or gather insight on who the actual users are? What are those kinds of user types? And what can I do to build that? So in Superbloom, we have a couple of, Superbloom, formerly known as Simply Secure, we have a few different persona templates that we tend to use, or persona maps that we use. And these are our different persona stakeholders that we're using. We've created 3 of them for this workshop. We've got one that's a journalist or activist, one that's an advocate for freedom of expression, and one that's an academic and an IT assistant. Because the focus of this workshop is privacy and security, open source software technology, contributions to those kinds of technologies. And we have like our persona structure mapped by implicit and explicit, and then these 4 quadrants of what do they need, what do they want, what could hurt them, and what do they do. So when we're thinking about civic tech or like human rights tech or any tech that is like any tech, essentially, you want to kind of understand what could hurt a user or what kind of risks there are to using an open source software, if there are any. And often people, even I, have trouble distinguishing the difference between what do they need and what do they want. But like I tend to try and communicate the want as like aspirational and the need as like immediate. So what do they need might be, I need to install this software quickly because I have X external pressure happening. What do they want? They might want to understand better how the installation process works. So it's not necessarily a need to understand how the installation process of an open source software works. It's a want, it's a desire, it's like an extra, like additional benefit, as opposed to they need to install it quickly and use it quickly. They want to be able to understand what that installation process is actually doing. Anyway, we've got 3 personas that we're working on, and maybe we'll do like what exercises, activities, like templates, help designers and open source software projects better understand users. So we've got like personas, we've also got like the devs guide to ... Devs Guide 2 I've talked about on streams before, but that's a project that we've done at Superbloom before, which is just on the screen at the moment. You can find it on GitHub as well, which is fully open, so people can contribute to making this better. But it's essentially a load of resources. I'll drop it in the chat, actually. I think I've dropped it in chats before, but anyway. It's basically a whole set of resources and guides on how to do user testing. Or user research for open source software developer teams, small ones as well, like, so it doesn't necessarily need a lot of resources. But I'm just going to finish out this workshop explanation and then probably close out the stream. We've got a couple of scenarios. So for each of these projects that we really want to focus on the contributing to the issues of, we've got like this, a persona wants to do like an action. This is like a scenario. It's just essentially a sort of story statement. Sometimes we do scenarios as like a sort of storyboard with missing kind of scenes, or like the first parts of storyboards, to kind of help workshop participants kind of work through like a story-based scenario. But I don't think we've got time for that in this workshop, sadly. And then we've got like, so the thing that I need to do is make another, the extra piece of work that I do need to do is make another user journey map. But we've got one example that's a little bit more detailed when we use a user journey map. Oh, there's something missing here. Who else or what else was involved? I talked to other journalists, work other journalists at the event. Here we go. There we go. Something was missing there. So this is actually a template from IDEO that I've edited heavily. But essentially it just goes through different events. Different events like concerning event, inquiry, action, getting set up, doing my investigation, ask for investigation, because this is a journalist of a journey map of a journalist that reported at the Olympics and noticed censorship and surveillance. So that's to help the people participating and contributing understand better like the scenarios. And then we've got this one exercise which was taken from some of my past work with a project called Open Design, so there's links to it, where we take existing issues, the way that they're worded in repositories, and we like translate them. Essentially, we go through a process of like reading those issues and how they're worded, typically by like coders or developers. And then we ask a series of questions to kind of like elaborate and expand and try and make it more like of a design perspective of like the issue. So like the translation process is typically just like a series of questions. Describe the problem from at least one user's point of view, some ways of technically achieving that via a user. So typically like in an open source issue, there might be like already sort of like a suggestion on how to fix a bug, essentially. So if it's like, I've found a bug, the way that I would fix bug is by doing X, or changing this. And one of the things that a designer would want to know is whether or not that way of fixing that bug that is suggested has implications to like the usability or the user. So it's not saying that that isn't the way that that issue could be solved in a technical way. It's like giving the designer a chance to like validate whether or not it poses any additional problems to like a user perspective or a user behavior. What is success for our users? What are the design constraints? You know, are there things that we can't do within the open source software? How can this work be continued by others? What are the next tasks that would need completing, and add any like images, sketches, or diagrams that people have made? And that's really the process of translating like a existing issue into like a design issue. It's a really nice exercise to go through. I really like encourage any open source software project to kind of like try going through the process of like translating an issue or like thinking more deeply about how you word an issue. And then we have loads of different kinds of design contributions that can be made. So we've got like a number of different contributions, issues that we want to focus on. Oh, actually, do you know what's missing in these? It's like the actual issues. So let's add in another slide, which is like actually the issues that we're going to focus on. We're still waiting for confirmation from all the different open source the issues links here. Yeah, we're still waiting on confirmation from all the projects that they were happy to be focused on in this workshop. The design activities, we have one that's persona non grata, which are basically bad users. What would a bad user do? And then a series of kind of question answer text boxes. We've then got a couple of heuristic analysis statements that people can kind of go through and make a design contribution based off of like, how do we perform a heuristic analysis? But the workshop participants have only got like an hour and a half, maybe tops, to actually make this design contribution. So they've got to be really, really contained with what they think they can achieve. Then we've got user empathy maps. So like to contribute a user empathy map around the subject of the issue. And then we've got like contributing a user testing or a user research script with basically like a load of question answers of like how to basically build a user testing or user research script around the issue that you want them to contribute to. And then essentially we've got an hour to have everyone kind of talk about what their contribution is, like to the rest of the workshop group, and then submit those contributions to the issues. And then also hopefully participate in some conversation, either in the local like country-based like designer conversation or on the open source design forum. So that's the workshop structure. But it's also, going through that workshop structure has also helped with this curriculum idea. So at least we've got some writing down on there, and we're 5 minutes over at the end of the stream. So next stream, what I'll do, I think, is I'll go over this old workshop from 2020, which is like open source for designers. So this workshop was like about introducing to designers that maybe had never heard of open source software before, like what it is, how to find it, what would you even do to start contributing. So I really think this workshop is going to help build out this document here as well. So that's what we'll do. Well, that's what we'll do on the next stream. And if I forget that that's what we need to do on the next stream, I've written down like a little to-do list, so hopefully I shouldn't forget. But I've got a couple of other things that I need to do off stream. And gosh, yeah, an hour goes by really quickly. I think that's why I end up doing 2-hour long streams typically. But today I'm taking it easy. I'm still recovering from my injury, so I'm going to call it here for the stream, and I'm going to thank you all very much for dropping by and listening to me ramble, as always, about open source and doing my maintenance tasks. And I hope to see you all on the next stream. Have lovely rest of your days. Thanks everyone, and bye bye.